Hi, we're really glad you have decided to participate in the second annual Harlan LE Science Fair. I'm Emily Kurth Christensen from the Harlan Library.
And I'm Mary Teggs from Shelby County Extension.
And today we're going to give you a little overview of all the information that you will need to participate in the fair. So hopefully by now you've come to the Harlan Community Library and picked up your packet. It will look like this. And you will also get a display board when you stop by. So if you haven't yet, please do so as soon as possible. So first of all, we want to say thanks to the Monogram Loves Kids Foundation, because they are the ones funding our science fair this year, and we're really excited for that. And we also have Mike Christensen helping us from Shelby County State Bank, and he'll be taking care of the judges this year. So I'm going to get us started just talking about the day of science fair and the schedule. And then I will give you a little bit about materials that you'll need, and then Mary will go into how to prepare for your project. So in your folder, you will have a schedule that looks like this. And inside it will tell you step by step what time you need to be there. So the fair this year is March 5th at the Veterans Memorial Auditorium. And we need you to be there at 5 o'clock or as soon as close to that as you can. You will come in and you'll get registered, and we will assign you a table. Just bring all your supplies with you, and your parents can help you set up at that time. You have them from 5 to 5:30 to set up. Then at 5:30 to 6:30, your parents or your guardians, grandmas, grandpas will be asked to step out, and you will have judging time for 1 hour from 5:30 to 6:30. And at that time, you'll have 3 different judges that will come up to you and talk to you, and you get to share everything that you've learned about your experiment. And then at 6:30, we open it to the public. So please invite your family and your friends to come see all the great work you've done. And they can come in from 6:30 to 7. And during that time, the judges are scoring and coming up with our final numbers. And then at 7 o'clock, we have an award ceremony, and everyone is invited to stay for that as well. So then on that same sheet, it will give you the things you need to bring that day. So make sure that you have your display board. Make sure you have a notebook. A notebook is somewhere that you're going to put your research that you've done, and your notebook can be just pieces of paper that you've stapled together. It doesn't have to be that you go out and buy anything, but make sure you remember that. If you're going to have a video, you could bring a computer. If you've something that you've built, bring that as well. And then also bring some extra materials like tape or an extra pen, just in case something on your board falls apart that you need to fix. And then of course, just bring yourself and a positive attitude and all your knowledge about your science experiment. Now, we do know that science fair falls over the dinner hour, so we encourage you to either eat before you come if you can, and if you don't have time, then please bring a snack with you. There'll be time to eat between 5:30 and 6. It only takes a few minutes to set up, and then you can just tuck your food away when the judges come around, okay? Another thing that we really recommend is that you bring something to do, because you're not gonna have your judges there with you that whole hour. They'll come at different times, and you might have, some time to kill. So I would bring a book that you might be reading, or if you got some homework you wanna do, or if you have a tablet or something like that, bring something to do to fill that time, because you do need to stay quietly at your table while everyone else is being judged. Okay, so we can talk a little bit about your display. Also in your folder that you will get, you'll get a sheet that looks like this, and it gives you examples of what display board should look like and the things that you should include. Just remember, you want it to be organized and neat and eye-catching. It doesn't have to be perfect, and you don't have to type it out on a computer. If you don't have a computer at home, or if you'd rather handwrite something, that's perfectly fine. But if you want to do it on the computer too, that's all right. So either way is okay. Either way is acceptable. You probably want to include some photos. If you've made a graph, all of that can be included on the display. And that sheet will give you kind of an outline of the things to remember and the things to put on there. And then you'll also bring your notebook with your research and any other materials that you have. Then also in that folder, there is a sheet that talks about judging questions. And this is something to practice. So after you have completed your research and you've worked on your board and you feel really ready for FAIR, this is the time to practice these questions. Hand this sheet to mom, dad, grandpa, grandma, your friend, and have them test you a little bit. It's great practice, and the judges get similar questions. So if you go over these questions, you'll be really prepared for FAIR. All right, so the only other thing I really want to mention are do's and don'ts. The major don't is that we don't want you to go buy a kit to do an experiment. We want you to come up with something you can research online, you can check out books from the library, whatever you want to do to find your experiment, but it doesn't have to cost really anything. You can do it with household products that you don't really have to spend money, okay? So the goal is to just find something that you're really interested in and want to learn about. The other big don't is we don't allow any live animals. So let's say you've done an experiment with mice running through a maze because you have pet mice at home, then maybe that's something that you want to videotape and just bring the video on your computer. And then the last thing is we don't allow anything dangerous. So we don't want any dry ice or open flame, things like that are no-nos. So, but if you need any special accommodations, like if you need an outlet for electricity, just let us know and we'll make sure to take care of that for you in advance. So at this point, I'm going to pass it over to Mary, and Mary's going to talk about how you prepare for your project and all the things that you will need to know.
All right, so I'm going to go over with you the steps of the scientific method. So you'll see a sheet like this in your folder. On the back side is your list of questions for the judge, but the scientific method. So on the scientific method, the first thing you want to do is your science project needs to be based around a question. So what, who, what, when, where, which, why, how, all of those kinds of things are questions that we have. And then you're going to do some research. So what does that research look like? So research, you could use a book, you could use an expert in the field, or you can use the internet. Remember when you're using the internet that not everyone out there is a reliable source. So stay away from Wikipedia. Websites that end in edu, so educational institutions are good websites. Extension's a great website. .gov are also good websites. Or you can stop by the library, because I hear there's lots of books there that you can check out and look for research information on your project. Then you're going to construct a hypothesis. So what's a hypothesis? It's an educated guess about how your project works. So it basically goes, if I do this, then this will happen. And so you're going to make an educated guess about your question. You're going to test your hypothesis by doing an experiment. This is the really fun part, that you get to get in there and do and get your hands messy or make or whatever it is that you're doing to test your experiment out. You're going to analyze your results and draw a conclusion. So was your hypothesis correct? Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe you have to go back and reformulate your hypothesis. And that's okay too, that we don't always guess right the first time. And then you're going to communicate your results. And that's by coming to the fair. So you're going to put those things on your display board so that everybody can see what you did, asking your question, what kind of research you did. Take pictures of you doing your research and your experiment. So lots of fun in the scientific method. So a lot of times people ask questions about, I don't even know where to start. What should I do? I don't know what a science fair experiment looks like. So this sheet, this really colorful sheet, has lots of websites on it. Those are live links. We've checked them all out. They work. So you can go in there and use those so that you can get some ideas for your science experiment. Remember, like Emily said, we don't want you to purchase a kit to do that. We want this to be original. We want it to be something that you are interested in, something that you want to learn about. Because when you are asked questions by the judge, we want you to be able to not read your board, they can read that, but we want you to be able to be knowledgeable and know about your experiment and have fun with that. The other thing that you need to be aware of is there are, 3-4 sheets that are stapled together, and these are your project categories. So on about February 13th, you're going to get an email from me, and it is going to be some kind of a survey that's going to ask you, it's going to ask you your name, your grade, if you're doing it with a partner. It's going to ask you the name of your experiment, but it's going to ask you your category. And it's really important that you put your science fair project into the right category. So that's why this is kind of long. I guess it's 4 pages, so it's kind of long front and back. Really take some time and read through some of this. You might ask somebody to help you with this, some caring adult at your place. A teacher might help you with that. If you have lots of questions, you can ask myself here at the extension, or you can go to the library and Emily will be happy to help you as well. So really important to get that category selected. Other than that, just remember that you will get an email about February 13th from me that's going to ask you to fill out the survey of what it is that you are bringing to the science fair. We have to have that information in by February 20th so that we have time to make sure we have enough awards, that we have enough judges, and a table set up at the science fair on March 5th. I have too many things in March. On March 5th at Vets Auditorium. So Emily, is there anything else that we need to talk about?
Yeah, we just want to remind you that we do offer help sessions in February. It'll be February 3rd, 10th, and 24th. Those are Monday afternoons after school in the primary computer lab. Mary and I and other helpers will be there. You can get on a computer if you like, if you want to do research there, and we'd be happy to help you. And we'll also offer an after-school snack. So please join us if you want a little help. I'll bring some extra supplies. If you get to the point where you're working on your display board and you want to work on your board there, you're welcome to bring that along too. And then one other thing, sometimes we have questions about what's allowed, and people ask, well, is it okay if my parents help me? Well, the whole point of this is that you're learning something. This is your experiment. You get to be a scientist. Now, you might get to a point where you need mom or dad's help or grandma or grandpa's help for something that's a little difficult, or maybe you're building something and you really need some adults to help you. That's perfectly fine. But the judges will probably ask you how much help you've had. So make sure that you do the majority of your project and that you know your project so you can share that information. So call us if you have any questions. Call me, Emily, or Mary at the extension. I'm at the library. We're happy to help. Stop in and see us anytime, and we're happy to answer any questions that you still may have. And then we're looking forward to seeing you at the Vets Auditorium on March 5th for the 2nd annual Science Fair.